When 9-year-old Jamie started flinching at every loud noise, his father, Chris, thought it was just school stress. Then he saw the bruises. Faint, hidden under sleeves. Chris asked questions, but Jamie stayed silent. So Chris hid a microphone in his son's backpack. What it recorded tore him apart and exposed a truth no one was ready to face. Chris Morgan worked long shifts as a warehouse supervisor in Denver. Widowed 3 years ago, he raised his son Jamie alone, juggling work and parenting like a circus act. Most nights he was home by 7 p.m. Jamie, 9, was quiet but sweet. Loved reading fantasy books and drawing dragons. His teacher said he was polite, well-behaved, a little shy, maybe, but bright. So when Jamie came home with a bruise on his arm, Chris noticed. "Hey, bud, what happened there?" Chris asked casually as Jamie reached for the TV remote, revealing a purple mark near his elbow. Jamie pulled his sleeve down quickly. "I bumped into a desk." Chris didn't push. Kids get bruises all the time. But 2 days later, there was another one. This time, on Jamie's upper arm. Circular. Almost like a grip mark. Again, Jamie shrugged it off. Said it happened during PE. Chris started watching closer. Jamie flinched when Chris reached to hug him. He jumped at loud noises, even the microwave beeping. He didn't want to go to school on Mondays. He used to love school. Something was wrong. That Thursday night, Chris stood in the kitchen, arms crossed, staring at Jamie's backpack like it held a secret. After Jamie went to bed, Chris opened a drawer and took out an old digital voice recorder. From a long-forgotten journalism class back in college. He stared at it, unsure. Then he taped it under Jamie's pencil pouch. The recording, day 1. That night, Chris barely slept. The next day, he left work early and waited for Jamie to come home. His son walked in at 3:30 p.m., dropped his bag, and went straight to his room. Normal. Chris waited until the bedroom door clicked shut. Then he grabbed the backpack, dug through it, and pulled the recorder out. He plugged in his headphones, hands shaking. First 20 minutes. Just school hallway noise. Kids talking, bells ringing. Then, voice, "Man, sit down." I said SIT. Jamie, softly, "Sorry." Voice, "Sorry doesn't fix stupid. How many times do I have to tell you to stay in line?" Chris stopped breathing. Then came a thud. Something hitting something. Then silence. A chair scraping. Jamie breathing fast. Then another voice, an older kid. Teenage, maybe. Teen voice, "You're dead, loser." Jamie, "Please stop." Teen, "Shut up." Another smack. A sob. Chris ripped the headphones off. He sat frozen for a full minute. That night, Chris watched Jamie eat spaghetti in silence. His son smiled faintly and talked about math class like nothing was wrong. Like nothing happened. "Hey, Jamie," Chris said gently. "Is there something going on at school?" Jamie looked up, froze. His fork paused midair. "Like what?" Chris hesitated. "Is someone being mean to you? A teacher? A classmate?" Jamie dropped his gaze. "No. It's fine." Chris didn't press further. Not yet. But the next day, he sent Jamie to school again, with the recorder, batteries fully charged. The recording, day 2. More hallway sounds. Lunch chatter. Then, same male voice, "Adult, you think you're special because your dad cries to the office?" "Huh." Jamie, "No, Mr. Dallas." "Mr. Dallas, then stop acting like it. Don't test me, boy." Chris clenched his fist. That voice, Mr. Dallas, was Jamie's math teacher. A man Chris had met during parent-teacher conferences. Firm, yes. But respectful. Or so he thought. Then another clip. Teen voice, same as before, "Give me your lunch money." Jamie, "I don't have any." Teen, "Liar." Sound of a desk slamming. Jamie yelping. Teen, "Next time, don't waste my time, freak." Chris paused the recorder. He felt sick. His hands were shaking again, but this time with rage. His kid was being terrorized by a teacher and a bully. Maybe more. Confrontation. That night, Chris didn't ask Jamie anything. Instead, he stayed up, copying the recordings, backing them up, then writing an email to the school board. He attached clips, labeled them, sent copies to the principal, the police, and one to his lawyer friend. The next morning, Chris walked into Jefferson Elementary School with a printed transcript in one hand, and Jamie's backpack in the other. He didn't shout. He didn't lose control. He asked to see the principal, calmly. Then he played the audio. Principal Rowan sat there in shock. Her face paled. She asked to hear it again. Within minutes, 2 security officers were called in. One escorted Mr. Dallas out of the building. The teen bully, identified by voice, was removed from class immediately. Chris went home that night and held Jamie tighter than ever before. But just when he thought it was over, Jamie whispered something that changed everything. Dad. Mr. Dallas wasn't the only one. Chris sat stunned. Jamie, what do you mean he wasn't the only one? Jamie's eyes darted to the floor. He hugged his knees on the couch and said nothing. Chris knelt in front of him, kept his voice steady. You can tell me anything. No one's going to hurt you again. I promise. Jamie looked up, eyes glassy. Mr. Dallas was the meanest. But, the lunch monitor, Mr. Keith, he sees everything. He never stops it. Chris's jaw clenched. What does he see? Jamie shrugged. The big kids, they take stuff from me. Sometimes they push me. Keith just tells me to be quiet, that I ask for it. The rage that boiled inside Chris couldn't be described. He'd thought it was just one bad teacher and one bad student. But now it was clear, this wasn't about a person. It was a system. And it was broken. The meeting. Monday morning, Chris demanded a meeting with the principal, the school counselor, and the district superintendent. The school tried to delay it. Chris refused. They met in a conference room at 9 a.m. Chris came armed, with audio files, a printout of Jamie's bruises, a copy of his son's drawing, a boy with sad eyes in a corner, and a lawyer on Zoom. Principal Rowan tried to apologize. We had no idea Mr. Dallas had been this aggressive. He's on immediate leave. Chris cut her off. He's not the only one. Then he played the second audio. The one with Mr. Keith ignoring Jamie's cries. The shuffling feet. The mocking laughter. The tearful, whispered, please stop. Silence fell like a hammer. The superintendent, a stiff man in a gray blazer, cleared his throat. We will begin an investigation immediately. And Mr. Keith will be placed on leave as well. Chris didn't look satisfied. That's not enough. I want policy changes. Cameras in lunchrooms. Random third-party classroom audits. And I want a formal apology to my son. Not just to me. To him. They weren't expecting that. But they nodded. Jamie's drawings. That night, Chris found something new in Jamie's room. Another drawing. It showed 3 kids, one tall and shadowy, holding a lunch tray like a weapon. Another, with a whistle, watching but doing nothing. And the smallest figure, curled up, crying. It wasn't just a picture. It was Jamie's memory, etched in crayon. Chris sat on the bed and quietly cried. The Parent Whisper Network. When word got out about what Chris had uncovered, something strange happened. Emails started trickling in. Then calls. Then visits. Other parents, quiet, scared, uncertain, started coming forward. My daughter said her art teacher yells at her daily. My son stopped eating lunch at school, he said someone spit in his food. My kid came home with bruises too. I thought he fell during soccer. Chris began organizing them, created a private group chat. They called themselves the Listening Fathers and Mothers. Within a week, 15 families had joined. The school tried to stay quiet, but the story was out. The news story. A local reporter from Channel 4 News reached out. She'd heard whispers of a parent uncovering systemic abuse using a hidden microphone. Chris debated. Did he want to go public? Would it embarrass Jamie? Or would it help other kids? Jamie made the choice for him. One night at dinner, he said, if my voice helps another kid, you can use it. So Chris gave the reporter everything, redacted clips, his notes, copies of Jamie's drawings. The story aired 2 days later. Father uncovers abuse at Jefferson Elementary, with a hidden microphone. Within hours, it exploded. The district superintendent called for an emergency audit of the school. The aftermath, for Jamie. Suddenly, Jamie wasn't invisible anymore. Teachers smiled a little wider at him. Older students nodded respectfully in the halls. But Jamie didn't want attention. He wanted peace. He started therapy. Chris joined him for sessions. The therapist, a calm, warm woman named Dr. Lillian, taught them how to talk. Really talk. Jamie admitted things he hadn't even said on the mic. Like how he once cried so hard in a janitor's closet he made himself throw up. How he started wearing long sleeves even in summer, to hide the bruises, but also because he didn't want anyone to look at him. How he thought, at one point, that maybe he was the problem. Chris nearly broke. But then, another recording. Jamie handed Chris something one Friday evening. The recorder. I left it on again this week. Just in case. Chris listened. His heart stopped. Voice, adult female, you're Jamie, right? I'm Miss Green. I just wanted to say. I heard about everything. You're brave. Jamie, thank you. Miss Green, kids like you change things. A pause. Jamie, I was scared. Miss Green, being scared doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. Speaking up, even while scared, that's courage. Chris closed his eyes. Let the tears fall. This wasn't just a story of bruises anymore. It was a story of a boy who refused to stay silent, and a father who listened. 2 months had passed since the first recording surfaced. The district was still in damage control mode. Jefferson Elementary was now under full audit. Several staff members had been suspended pending investigations. The school board meetings were packed. Local parents who never showed up to PTA nights now stood in line holding printed screenshots of bruises, messages, and transcripts. Chris was everywhere, news panels, community forums, even invited to speak at a state education hearing. But all he cared about was Jamie. And Jamie was healing. He laughed more now. His drawings were brighter, less shadow, more color. But there were still nights when he'd freeze at loud knocks or flinch when Chris entered his room too fast. Some scars weren't visible, but they were there. The courtroom. Mr. Dallas, Jamie's former teacher, was charged with endangering a minor and misdemeanor assault. The trial was set quickly. Chris was asked to testify. So was Jamie. Chris didn't want his son anywhere near a courtroom. But Jamie insisted. I want to say it out loud. So he hears it. So he knows. They rehearsed the questions with the family attorney and a child advocate. On the day of the hearing, Jamie wore his favorite green sweater and carried a small dragon figurine in his pocket. For courage. In court, Jamie sat on the witness chair, feet barely touching the floor. The lawyer asked gently, "Do you remember what happened on October 4th? Jamie nodded. Yes. Mr. Dallas yelled at me. He grabbed my arm. He told me I was stupid. What did you feel when he did that? Jamie looked straight ahead. I felt like I didn't matter. The courtroom was silent. Chris watched from the gallery, gripping the edge of his seat. Then Jamie added something no one expected. He wasn't the worst one. The real twist. A hush fell. The lawyer blinked. I'm sorry. Jamie looked directly at Mr. Dallas. You were mean. But you were scared too. I saw it. Scared of what? The judge asked gently. Jamie turned to the audience. There's a person in the school who told the big kids who to pick on. Told them which kids wouldn't fight back. They told Mr. Keith to ignore it. Said it would go away if we stopped complaining. Chris's blood ran cold. Who? The lawyer asked. Jamie hesitated. Then said it. Vice Principal Harland. Gasps in the courtroom. Chris's head snapped up. Harland had been at the school for years. A quiet man. Stern. Calculated. Present at every school assembly. The one who handled disciplinary referrals and staff complaints. And the one person who always dismissed Chris's past concerns with, "We'll look into it." The investigation widens. After court adjourned, the DA reopened the case. Several parents came forward. Some had emailed Harland directly in the past, with no replies. Others had students who'd been punished for talking too much about fights or bullying. One mother found an email chain where Harland had advised a teacher to discourage rumors about Jamie Morgan's family issues. That boy needs discipline, not sympathy. Within a week, Harland was suspended. Then he disappeared. Literally. Quit the job. Moved out of state. Didn't leave a forwarding address. But his name was now permanently part of a growing scandal, the Jefferson suppression case. Jamie's speech. In April, the district invited Chris and Jamie to speak at a safety reform summit. Chris went prepared with bullet points and a written statement. Jamie walked up to the mic holding just one thing, a crayon drawing. It showed a boy standing on a desk, speaking into a mic, surrounded by kids looking up at him, not scared, not laughing, just listening. Jamie cleared his throat. My name is Jamie Morgan. I'm 10 years old. I used to think staying quiet made things easier. But it didn't. It just made bad people louder. I don't want to be quiet anymore. Standing ovation. Epilogue. 1 year later. Jefferson Elementary looks different now. New staff. Cameras in public areas. A district-wide listening program with anonymous reporting and third-party monitoring. A student-led support group called the Brave Club. Jamie helped design the logo. Chris no longer carries the recorder in his glove box. He doesn't need it. Every night, he and Jamie sit for 10 minutes with no screens. Just talk. Anything. Dragons. Teachers. Bad dreams. Silly jokes. One night, Chris asked, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Jamie didn't pause. Someone who listens. Chris smiled. That's exactly what the world needs. Fade out.